Welcome, everybody, to the Swizz Sports Show, episode 6. Can't believe we're on episode 6 already. I mean, the guy you see here, video editor, one that helped make the Swizz Sports Show intro, Kyle Mcshane, basketball Big East enthusiast. I said that backwards, but we're going to ignore that. Big East basketball enthusiast and diehard Friars fan. As you guys can see the shirts, you know, Ed Cooley is a clown. And Kyle, first of all, before we get into that, how you been, man? I know you just started moving and everything like that in Royal Flush. I know you're going to see Drake either tomorrow or Wednesday, so I know you're pretty pumped up to see that. So what's life been like for you, man, ever since the big move, and how's life going for you?
Life's been good. Obviously adjusting to city life is a little different, not in the old 02885 anymore. It's been good. Can't complain. You mentioned Royal Flush. We just started the Royal Flush podcast, basically just kind of interviewing local business owners and trying to highlight Rhode Island as a whole. So that's been exciting. And obviously you mentioned Drake. I've been waiting over a decade to go see him live. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time in life if I were to summarize it.
And to add on to that exciting time, at first it wasn't an exciting time because we didn't know what to think of it. And I want to talk about the man on your shirt. A little over in March 20th, 2023, the news broke. And before the news even broke, Kyle, we heard the rumors going around that Ed Cooley would be leaving Providence to take another coaching job. And we all thought that he was not going to go to Georgetown. We all thought that he could have gone to St. John's possibly. Or we could have thought where he was going to go some. I know there were some other schools in the mix that were looking at Cooley besides Georgetown. But ultimately, Cooley had backstabbed Providence by signing with our rivals, the Georgetown Hoyas. And I got to tell you, I've never seen the city of Providence so irate, if you will. So what's the word I'm looking for? So be humbled at the fact that someone who they looked up to has been talking illegally in college basketball, may I remind you, during midseason to a rival team, and Ed Cooley is officially a Georgetown Hoya. So what do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, you kind of summed it up pretty well. It was kind of behind closed doors. Allegedly it didn't happen, but he was, from what we've heard, he was certainly talking to the Georgetown AD, Georgetown staff, and it sucks because he was Providence born and raised. He took so much pride in being part of the PC family and all that stuff. But I think it was clear personally that there were things going on behind the scenes. There was obviously a rough end of the season. Lost to Xavier at the dunk. It was the first home loss of the year, and there were 2 games left in the season. Then you proceed to get blown out by Seton Hall on senior day, end of the year. Get taken to town by UConn up until the last probably 5 minutes of the game in the Big East tournament. Get bounced first round, and then you get embarrassed by Oscar Tshiebwe in Kentucky. There had to have been something more going on, and it kind of begs the question, what was going on?
Absolutely.
And actually, before that Xavier game that I'd mentioned, losing at the dunk, they played at Georgetown. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you play at Georgetown and you proceed to end the season on a 4-game losing streak, getting embarrassed by Seton Hall, embarrassed by UConn at Madison Square Garden. It was a terrible. Ed Cooley's my arch nemesis now. That's really all it is. And like I said, it sucks because he took so much pride in being a Friar and all that stuff. And the way it unfolded, I think, keeping everything hidden and not being transparent with the city. I think if he came out and flat out said, yeah, I'm parting ways with the Friars at the end of the year, and he was straight up honest about it, it goes completely different. But obviously, I mean, you've seen the dunk rocking. There's passionate fans in Providence. And I think to be sneaky and kind of go behind the backs of such a passionate fan base, it's going to leave a bad taste in their mouths. And listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Ed Cooley goes to Capitol Grill when Georgetown's in town and ends up with a little saliva in his food. That's all I'm saying.
And I think the proper word to really sum up Ed Cooley in the situation is conniving. really, the way he went about it and everything like that. But nonetheless, before we move in to talking about what class we're taking next semester, you know, there wasn't there was a lot of good and a lot of bad. Obviously, a lot of bad about last Friar season was the Ed Cooley drama, and but let's talk a little bit about the good because we saw the rise of two big players, one of them being Bryce Hopkins.
Yes, sir.
And you want to talk about a guy who, and I give praise to Ed Cooley for this because he was always one to make players have a second chance at the second opportunity at Providence and give them their shine. Prime examples: Bryce Hopkins, Devin Carter, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. You had Nate Watson, you had Al Durham, Jared Bynum. All these guys, Ed Cooley gave a second chance and turned them into great basketball players. But I want to get into Bryce because this was a guy who in his first season with Kentucky was playing only 6.5 minutes per game. He was only averaging one and a half rebounds per game and was only averaging 2 points a game. Okay. Now keep that in mind. In his sophomore year, same age as me, 15.8 points per game, 8.5 rebounds per game, 2.3 assists per game. You want to talk about a jump for a young man who's looking to make an impact and only grow? Look no further than Bryce Hopkins. And Kyle, we've been to Friar games this year. Obviously, we went to the one with a couple of my friends from Dean and Caden, of course. We went to the one against, I believe it was Butler.
Yep.
Where they were off to a slow start. And then second half, B-Hop just turned it on. And that's one thing he's really good at doing in the second half is adjusting to the game plan and turning on the Jets. And I think a prime example of that is looking at the UConn game and looking at the Marquette game in January. The UConn game, 27 points, where 16 of those 27 points came from just the free throw line alone. So it's clear he can get to the paint without a problem and get the contact. But what no one saw coming is the 29 rebounds he put up against Marquette. That's unheard of in college basketball. So Kyle, with that being said, I want to ask you this. What is the importance of Bryce Hopkins to this Friars team? And do you think he's going to be stepping in as that leader now on that team with the loss of Ed Croswell, who, congratulations, got a contract with the Utah Jazz?
That's big.
Yeah, I want to ask you that. Do you think Bryce steps into that leader situation now, that leadership role with the Friars? And, do you think that this becomes Bryce's team more than Devin's?
I mean, I wouldn't chalk it up to Bryce's more than Devin's. Bryce is, he balled out last year, plain and simple. The talent's there. I don't think there's a guy in the Big East that's as big as him that can put the ball on the floor the way he does. You mentioned he can kind of get downhill, get to the free throw line. The talent's clearly there. I think, I'm not sure what the offseason looked like, but he develops a jump shot. I don't think there's a better all-around player in the conference. I'd have to, fact check myself right there. But, I mean, there's a lot of quality players that just left the Big East, whether it's for the draft or transfer portal. And, gun to my head right now, I'm saying he's probably the best all-around player in the Big East. So the talent's there. I wouldn't say it's necessarily more Bryce's team than Devin's. It's not the NBA. We don't need these kind of egos clashing. I wouldn't kind of chalk it up to one thing, but I think there's a clear core in Providence right now, and it's B-Hop, Devin Carter, and the two returning guards, Jaden Pierre and Corey Floyd Jr., who I think are going to step up big this year as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Devin Carter. Now, we were talking about this earlier, and I said this to you, and you had agreed with me on it. Bryce is our most talented player by far, but Devin is our most important. And we saw a prime example of that in the Kentucky game, even though we didn't really shine against Kentucky like we could have in the first round of the March Madness NCAA tournament. Devin Carter was the main reason we were staying in that game. He started knocking down his shots. His defense is incredible. And his inside job as a 6'3" guard, gets that job done. So do you think Devin Carter is the Big East player of the year this year? I know you've had that hot take.
We've talked about this off the record, Ty, and that's my hot take for the year. I wish we could have a little graphic with a little DJ horn popping up. Hot take of the year. I think Devin Carter is being heavily slept on to be Big East Player of the Year. He's, like you said, he's so important to the team. He's the hustle guy. There's a couple things you can't teach. Hustle, and you can teach it, but it's more so learning through experience and actually getting reps in, and that's basketball IQ. And I think people don't value the fact enough that, his dad was a former Miami Heat player. He grew up around professional basketball his whole life. You can see him out on the court. The basketball IQ is there. The hustle's there. The shot making's there. The athleticism's there. I mean, I think the bubble's about to pop at some point. I think Devin Carter makes that jump this year, personally.
All right. Now, you wanted to talk about the two guards that are returning this year, Corey Floyd Jr. and
Big time.
Jaden Pierre, which let's get into Jaden Pierre first, because it was rumored, and it actually happened, that he hopped in the transfer portal at first.
Mhm.
And when Ed Cooley announced that he was leaving, it all went through our minds like, is Bryce going to follow? Is Devin going to follow? Are all these players now going to follow Ed Cooley to Georgetown? Because we didn't know what was going behind the scenes. Was Ed Cooley recruiting behind everybody's back? When Jared Bynum entered the transfer portal, everybody's first thought was, hey, he's going to Georgetown. But then he goes to Stanford because he can't take a fifth year at Providence because he already maxed out.
Mhm.
But, nonetheless, having Jaden Pierre back, Pierre, you want to come out here? Having him back is huge because it just opens up the floor spreading more. And he's one of those guards that really spreads the floor great in ISO situations. So I want you to talk about a little bit of the significance that Jaden Pierre has for this team now.
Well, I think one thing that Jaden Pierre brings is something Providence has kind of lacked in years past, and we've had the talent around it to kind of almost sugarcoat it, but it gives Providence a primary ball handler. It gives them a true point guard. I mean, you think in years past, who's been running the point? Al Durham, Jared Bynum? Those are score first guys, and not to knock them. They're both talented guys. I mean, Lewayne Pipkins. Now I'm breaking out deep cuts out of the memory bank right now.
Chris Dunn.
Well, no, Chris Dunn, I would say, is a true two-way point guard. But, you go back as far as Lewayne Pipkins, I'd say the last time we had a true ball handling, distributing point guard, you probably have to go back 2017, 2016, maybe. That brings a layer to the offense, especially you get a year under his belt in Jaden Pierre. It brings a layer to the offense that, Providence hasn't seen in a while. And I think that could open up, the pick and roll for Bryce Hopkins. It could open up the pick and roll for Josh Odoro. Remember the name, George Mason transfer. I think he's going to be big this year. But it gives him a true ball handler. Someone to facilitate the offense. It takes a lot of the pressure off Bryce and Devin Carter. You can draw up plays for them off the ball. And I think it's huge, especially getting another year under his belt. Obviously, Kim English played him one-on-one, got him out the transfer portal. So we don't have to talk about anything else beyond this, but Allen Breed's in the transfer portal. Kim English might have to play him one-on-one. But
Allen Breed's also in a different situation.
Yes.
We won't discuss that here on the
show. We don't have to get into details again. But yeah, bottom line is Jaden Pierre gives Providence a true ball handler. And I think that's so undervalued, especially in college basketball, especially in a Providence team where we've just relied on, shooters in our backcourt the last couple of years.
Yeah, and you talked about shooters, and one key piece that's missing is Noah Locke. Noah Locke, arguably the hottest shooter on Providence all of last year by far. And not having him. So do you see now with the new coach coming in, who we're going to get into in just a second, we're not mentioning his name because we have a way that we're going to introduce him, but with the new coach coming in, do you see this Providence team now being more of an interior team than a shooting team this season?
So I would say yes and no. I wouldn't rule anything out of the question. Like I said, Devin Carter is still someone who can stroke it from three. And one thing, I mentioned his name earlier, I do think Corey Floyd is going to step into that Noah Locke role, that catch and shoot. He's a very good shooter. You didn't see it much last year, but very talented shooter. I think, you need a guy to make a shot. I think, and this might be the biased optimist in me, But I think if you need a shot, a big shot, the ball's probably going to end up going to Corey Floyd a lot more than you'd think this year.
So now, with that being said, we got our class schedule for this summer, for this semester.
Get your
English
notebooks out,
class,
folks.
English class is in session this fall. Kim English, New
Mhm.
Providence head coach, and our outside source on the Swizz Sports Show, because I asked them about this, Jaden Simbab, who is great friends with Tyler Kolek because they played basketball together.
Shout out Big Red.
So Kolek and Jaden used to play basketball together, to give everybody a little context here. And Jaden asked Tyler Kolek, who won Big East Player of the Year last year. Shout out to him, old Rhode Island boy up in the building.
Mhm.
And Kolek, of course, transferring to Marquette from George Mason under Kim English. And Kolek had this to say about Kim English, excuse me. And I have it right here. And I quote, Providence is going to thrive off the intensity and the capacity of Kim English's playbook. And they are going to do something that has never been seen before in college basketball. And they're going to shock the world. That's coming from someone who played under under Kim English.
Yep.
So, I mean,
That's coming from someone who's going to have to play them twice this year. Listen, props to giving out props. And obviously he's played under Kim English, and I personally love the addition. I think I was weary at first. He's a young coach, but every interview I watch, I think I get more and more confident with Kim English at the helm. He's already bringing guys in, and he wouldn't bring them in unless he knew they could make a difference. So, like I said, Josh Odoro, big ad right there. He's a big body, and he's going to fill up the paint. Obviously we're losing Ed Croswell, Clifton Moore. But yeah, I think him bringing in the recruits, that's huge.
Yeah. So, and you want to talk about bringing in recruits and losses? Let's transfer over here from out of Providence to over to UConn, which we don't like UConn, but
I'm going to try and be unbiased.
Yeah, going to try to be unbiased here, but Andre Jackson Jr.'s status is unclear with the program. We don't know if he's staying undrafted or if he's going to sign with a team. And we also don't know if he's going to be able to come back because he's not a senior. So he can technically re-enlist in UConn, but he had declared for the draft. He went undrafted. Now, I do ask you this, Kyle. Jordan Hawkins was the first-round pick, and my God, this young man's going to be something special for the New Orleans Pelicans. He is an absolute bucket. Hater to love it, even though we're Providence fans. He is an absolute bucket. He's 6'5", 195. He averaged, I'm looking at it right here, 16.2 points per game. And he was really a key part of the Huskies championship team. And now you're taking him out, and the status of Andre Jackson Jr. is unknown. And Adame Sanogo, is probably going to end up signing with a G League team, is what I've been hearing a lot out of Adrian Wojnarowski. A lot of G League teams are interested in him. So, big three for UConn is probably not returning this year. So, do we see a fall in UConn?
So I would say, and I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as possible. You know me, I'm a Rhode Island boy, born and raised. So I can't let my bias show too much here. But I do think, I'd say you lost half your core. Big thing was Tristan Newton staying out of the NBA draft. So they have that go-to offensive guard that you lost in Jordan Hawkins. I'm not saying he's going to completely fill the hole that Jordan Hawkins left in that offense. But then you have Donovan Clingan stepping into that, primary big man role. He didn't get too many minutes last year because it was tough to have him and Sanogo on the court at the same time. So that's elite rim protection right there. And then you have Alex Caraban. I actually think he's from Massachusetts. Don't quote me on that. I think it's Northborough. And he played outstanding last year. Good kind of just utility guy. You can plug and play him, put him on whoever, and can shoot pretty well. So I'm not saying they're going to completely fall off, but you definitely lost your big three from last year. You're out on Andre Jackson. You're out on Sanogo. You're out on Jordan Hawkins. So it's a matter of if these three guys are going to step up. I believe Caravan and Klingon are about to be sophomores, and Tristan Newton's going to be a junior. But another thing that I want to touch on as far as UConn is they're bringing in, I believe it's 4 top 100 recruits, and including the number 12 recruit in the ESPN top 100. So he's a 5-star out of, I forget exactly where, but Stefan Castle is the number 12 recruit, and he's going to UConn. That's a name to watch out for. Obviously, we didn't think, there were a couple names throughout the conference last year that came out of nowhere as freshmen and lit it up. So I don't want to say that, UConn's going to completely fall off, but I'm also not saying they're going to be a perennial top 10 team in the AP poll all year. So I think, a lot of freshmen on this team, you're going to have a lot of freshmen in the rotation, I'd say. And if they do become, a threat come March, it's going to look like a team that starts off slow, maybe, loses a couple early games and some invitationals early in the season, but they have the talent. The freshmen coming in, they have the talent. And if they're going to be a threat come March, it's going to be a team that picks it up around January, I'd say.
All right. Now, let's talk about the team that shocked the world last year. Even though they didn't win the whole thing, they made it all the way to the Sweet 16, I believe, or it might have been the round of 32, but I believe it was a Sweet 16. The Marquette Golden Eagles. Shout out Jimmy Butler. We don't hate him. We don't love him.
Shout out Dwayne Wade.
Shout out Dwayne Wade. Yeah, that's a better one.
Shout out Jay Crowder.
Jay Crowder, yep. And it's tough, but I could see Marquette winning the Big East again this year. I really could.
They're my pick 100%. The only core guy you lost from rotation last year is Omax Prosper, who, hell of a talent, but you're keeping Tyler Kolek, reigning Big East Player of the Year, Oso Ighodaro, Stevie Mitchell, David Joplin, Cam Jones. Cam Jones is another guy who could, creep up and win Big East Player of the Year this year. I think Marquette picks up right where they left off, personally.
So do you see Marquette maybe going Final Four?
I think, personally, I'd have them in my preseason top 5. So I guess by process of elimination, I'd have them in my have them in my Final Four preseason. But this is a team that got the experience they needed last year. They won the Big East. They have the reigning conference player of the year. They have the size. They have the chemistry. You lost one of your core rotation guys, but, 2 of your more prominent scorers are still there. Marquette's my pick to win the Big East. Maybe not the whole thing, but I would say, preseason, I'd have them go in the Final Four.
All right. So now transitioning out of the Big East, we're going to move to the Pac-12. And I know you don't like that conference. We've been vocal about that before.
Not a fan. I don't get to watch the games. They're always late.
Very true. But nonetheless, I think a lot more eyes are going to be on USC this year because of Bronny James, also known as LeBron James Jr. So Bronny over USC, and I'm not looking to compare here because everybody's saying, oh, Bronny's going to try to be the next LeBron. Bronny's going to do this. Bronny's going to do that. You have to let the kid grow out into a big environment. He's lived in his dad's shadow his entire life. Are we saying that Bronny's going to become the next LeBron? No. But this kid has the talent. There's no question. His dad's arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. And I put parentheses and quotations around arguably because Michael Jordan's still in that conversation. But that's a conversation for another day. So, you look at it, and I think this is going to be a tell-all of where Bronny falls in the draft, more or less. Because realistically, we all know Bronny's going in the 2024 NBA draft. It's already projected. He's playing 1 year at USC because it's the rule. You have to play 1 year of college basketball now in order to get drafted. LeBron, Bronny's father, is going to go wherever Bronny gets drafted to. We know this. It's been rumored for years. Bron's come out and been vocal about this. Do you think, because right now it's projected to see Bronny going to the Hawks. Do we see LeBron in an Atlanta Hawks uniform next year?
Personally, I just can't visualize it. I think it would look weird.
And that also means all hell for the Celtics again because Bron's back in the East.
Yeah, seriously. Just giving his hell. Like, he barely get to the Eastern Conference Finals and he wants to come back to the East. No, I don't know. I would say there was also speculation that if LeBron James wanted to go play with his son, the implication that whoever drafted Bronny would end up with LeBron as well. Then Bronny would just go number one by default because you just want LeBron on your team. I don't. I first of all, I don't like that. I just feel like it breaks the game of basketball. It just breaks the. I don't know, but I don't know. I can't see LeBron in a Hawks jersey. It's going to be something we've never seen before, which I think is, I guess, interesting. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I do think there's a lot of pressure on Bronny though. I mean, he's what number ranked 19th in the ESPN Top 100.
As of right now, he's ranked 17th. He's moved up 2 spots.
Okay. But yeah, I think there's a lot of unnecessary pressure. I think, like you said, there's no doubt the talent's there. He's going to make it to the league. But the whole next LeBron thing, I think, is kind of blown out of proportion a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, the last segment on the Swizz Sports Show that we always do here is a game of this or that, or as we like to call it, Tyler's questionnaire or Swizz's questionnaire. So I give you random things. This one's going to be about basketball because we're here for it. So this or that, we're going to start off with an NBA player picker, Tracy McGrady, or who don't want to pair with T-Mac? Or Kawhi Leonard.
Now, am I starting a team with one of them? Are we comparing resumes?
Starting a team. Like, who would you want on your team? Yeah.
Sorry. So I think the one argument against T-Mac is that he's injury prone, but Kawhi is also injury prone, and I don't think that's talked about enough.
Kawhi's literally the definition of injury in the dictionary.
Yeah, he's like load management to a T. Like, he's the reason load management's even a term. So I'd say T-Mac. I think without the injuries, you're looking at one of the most talented players of all time. Probably has a couple more rings to back it up than just hopping on the Spurs team in 2014 and getting a ring on his resume. Mm-hmm. But I think without injuries, he's one of the best players ever. So I'd say Tracy McGrady.
All right. So Russell Westbrook's MVP season or James Harden's MVP season?
James Harden's. His team, I think, were they the 1 seed in the West?
Yeah.
I think Westbrook's the only MVP off the top of my head who won MVP and his team didn't host a first round matchup. I'd say because what were they, the 6th seed? When
something like that, yeah.
I think they were the 6th seed. So I'd take Harden. I'm biased. I'm a lefty. I respect the flop game. So it's I gotta go Harden.
The next one that I got for you. Kevin Garnett. Or Dirk Nowitzki.
Kevin Garnett. Yeah, 100%.
Want to elaborate on it?
Yeah, he's just, like I said, I'm kind of biased. I respect the trash talk. I think Dirk. We
know that clip.
Yeah. I think Dirk changed the game a little more. I think he was the definition of like stretch big, and I think that's changed the game completely today. But I mean, Kevin Garnett in the post, at the elbow, lockdown defense. I think he's a defensive player of the year. Ultimate top 5 trash talker in NBA history. Game respects game. I gotta go KG.
All right, now what we're gonna do is an all-time starting 5. However, there's a twist.
Let's hear it.
We cannot draft Michael or LeBron.
Okay.
All right, and you're my guest, so we will do this as a snake draft.
Perfect.
So I will let you pick first.
All right, man.
We're going in order too.
Perfect. I think I know who you're gonna go with your first pick. He's probably my number 3 player of all time, but I'm going for a team that's really gonna win games. So I'm gonna take the best shooter God ever created. I'm gonna take Steph Curry 1.
See, you thought wrong. I was not even going to pick Steph.
No. I'm saying you're gonna pick my number 3 of all time. right now. Go.
You think I'm picking Magic?
No, I'm gonna write his name. I'm gonna write his name down.
So at my one, and I want to specify on this, we're taking players in their primes as well. Like if they never got injured as well. So at my one, I'm going to take Derrick Rose.
Okay.
Who did you think I was picking?
Well, you got to make your second pick now because it's a snake draft.
I'm going to take Kobe Bryant.
That's my number 3 all time right there. Good old Bean. So you got your backcourt.
Rest in peace. Can't believe it's been 3 years, man.
Listen, I got to go with athleticism here. And I respect the athleticism. I need some size. I need someone to bruise down low. I'm going to take Will Chamberlain.
Oh, so you're not going in order.
Oh, are we going 1 through 5 right there?
Yeah, we're going 1 through 5.
Oh, damn. All right. Well, you can't take Wilt from me now.
No, I'm not. You have
Okay,
Wilt.
cool.
I'll let you keep Wilt.
Cool. All right. So if I had to go 2, I can't pick Mike. There's another good 2, like all time.
You know what? I'll allow you to pick Mike, but you can't pick Braun.
No. I don't want to break the rules right now. I don't want to
Okay.
break the rules right now. I really like the Wilt pick though. I was gonna work on the front court and then get back to my 2. I gotta go T-Mac. I'll take T-Mac. He's at the top of my head right now. And then for my 3, we're just gonna stick with offense. We're gonna run and gun it. I'm taking KD.
All right.
Not a big fan of KD, but I gotta take him.
All right. So at my 3, I'm gonna take prime Carmelo Anthony.
Okay.
And then at my 4, give me the greatest rebounder of all time. And I know you said the rule, never start a sentence with his Dennis Rodman the greatest. But dude, his rebounding skills insane. So I made you think I was taking Rodman, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Giannis. I'm gonna take Giannis at the 4.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I gotta take the best power forward of all time now, right? Like it's only right.
My man, Timothy Duncan.
I'm not going to sell tickets, man. I'm going to win games. I'm taking Tim Duncan.
All right. And you already picked your 5, so it's my 5 pick.
Oh, now. I got Wilt.
I could go Shaq, but I'm not. I'm gonna go with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and at my one bench pick for my 6th man, I think he could be a starter potentially. Give me Allen Iverson.
Okay, cool. I'll go with the guard for my 6. Are we just taking 6 man? Is it?
Yeah. We'll just do 6 man.
Okay. For sure.
And a coach.
Okay, well, I got to go with the greatest basketball player that God ever created because he's not banned on the list for some reason. LeBron's banned, Jordan's banned. Terry Rozier is not banned. I'm taking playoff. Listen, no. You're laughing. I'm taking 2018. Stop laughing. 2018 playoff Terry Rozier. That's my 6 man.
You know what? We have a little bit.
82-0, just with the bench.
We have a little bit of time here, so you can pick again. We'll go through 8 spots.
Pick again.
Hell, if you took Terry Rozier, just take the white mamba at this point.
Well, I'm not taking Eric Bledsoe.
Eric Bledsoe, he says.
You know what? Listen, if we're talking primes, you got to go James Harden. His MVP year.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't his MVP year. Giannis's MVP year. Harden was the league leader in points and averaged 8 more points a game than the second place guy.
Yeah, at my backup center, I'm going to take a guy who is heavily underrated. Give me David Robinson.
Okay, for sure.
He's got the muscle. One of the most built centers of all time, may I remind you.
Yeah.
Dude was jacked.
The Navy boy.
And with my last pick, you want to talk about primes. Bro, give me prime Russ.
Did you hear that horn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me prime Russ.
I can't believe you left a top 10 player there. Also, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not going to pick him, but Larry Bird's still on the board. That's criminal. So is Magic, now that I'm thinking about it. But all right, so yeah, we kind of did this the wrong way. But I need a big man off the bench. Give me Hakeem.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think I win in 6 games because I have Kobe. Like, dude, Derrick Rose and Kobe feeding.
I have playoff Terry Rozier, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, anyone watching
any coaches.
Anyone watching this? Let me take Bill Russell. Bill Russell, the coach.
I think you left one open there for me.
Comment who you think.
Comment Swizz or Mac and how many games it goes to. Swizz or Mac, and how many games it goes. And for my coach, bro, give me Pop. Give me Popovich.
For sure. For sure. Respect.
With that being said, that will do it for episode 6 of the Swizz Sports Show. Shout out Drizzy. And shout out Kyle Mcshane, a man who needs no more introductions, coming on the show. Big East Analyst of the Year over here. You know,
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
Kyle, we thank you for coming on. Again, guys, comment down below who you think's team is going to win. Comment down below Swizz or Mac.
Playoff Terry.
You know, and if we're taking undrafted players who are still in college, Bryce Hopkins.
For sure. For sure.
And with that being said, guys, stay tuned for episode 7. That guest is to yet be announced, and discover who we're going to have on. Again, thank you, Kyle, for joining us today. And by the way, one more thing before we wrap up.
Less than a minute.
Home run derbies tonight. Who's your pick?
I think it's on right now. Listen, dark horse, Luis Robert or Adolis Garcia. You heard it here first. It's about to start. My dark horse,
Julio Rodriguez. My actual pick, Vladdy gets his redemption.
Okay. Adolis Garcia, you heard it here first.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you heard it here first. All right, everybody. With that being said, from Kyle Mcshane, from the Mac Daddy himself, from the 02885 God to T Swizz, signing off. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ty.
Of course, my brother.